now how you'd like to be addressed during questions.
Hello. My name is Celine Porcheron,
Oh,
and I'm the president of OBRA, the Ocean Breeze Residents Association.
and how would you like to be addressed?
Celine is fine.
Thank you.
I'm here today to state our deep concerns with Bill 467. Ocean Breeze Village, previously known as Wallace Heights, has a long and proud history of welcoming families and fostering strong community bonds. Our vibrant, diverse, and inclusive neighborhood is surrounded by lush forests and teeming with wildlife and mature trees, where children build forts and embark on adventures at the nearby pond. For decades, this community has been the backdrop for countless joyful gatherings, from pride marches to festive barbecues and visits from Santa Claus. Most of the children here attend the beloved Shannon Park School, which has been a cherished institution since 1952. Ocean Breeze has grown into an affordable urban village with a very unique and cherished character. But life in Ocean Breeze changed dramatically in 2022 when the property was purchased by a consortium of local developers. Driven by greed and disregard for our community, they have embarked on a ruthless campaign to evict the 1,200 residents, demolish the existing affordable homes, and replace them with high-end condos. Over the past 2 years, as our province spiraled into a housing crisis, these unscrupulous developers have forged ahead, sending eviction notices to residents in about a dozen buildings. The first 2 buildings were demolished this summer, and many more of our neighbors have received notice of their imminent eviction. Despite early assurances, all hopes have been shattered as the consortium retreats behind closed doors, communicating mainly through legal letters that move up eviction dates and offered no assurances. My neighbor, Deborah, is being forced to leave earlier than originally stated by the owners, and she has not been able to find anything affordable. She'll now have to move in with her sister. A retired gentleman in his 90s, whose wife is in the hospital, has also received the same devastating letter. He told me he doesn't know what he is going to do. Will they end up in a tent on University Street, hoping for a good Samaritan to help them out? Those of us that are fortunate enough to be a little further down the queue for eviction and demolition still feel deep stress and despair. My neighbor, in tears with her eyes, asked me to make this point. Remind them to think of the children. These bulldozers are not just demolishing buildings. They are destroying our community. Pardon me. Our children are being separated from their friends, losing the green spaces where they used to play, and being forced to relocate to new schools. Every day they walk past the ruins of their homes where their friends used to live, wondering about their own homes, their own futures. This is our reality, and this is why we must come today and speak up against Bill 467. Housing is a human right, yet the current legislation in this bill has failed to effectively cap rents. Rent control must be attached to the units, not the tenants, and that cap must be tied into inflation rates. Fixed-term leases, they have to be abolished. They're subject to abuse from landlords who use them and abuse renters to increase profits on the backs of communities like mine. And the clause that enables evictions of tenants if they are just 3 days late in paying their rent, as we've just heard, it could only have been written by someone who has never lived a day on the financial edge. It's very difficult to live there, to know at any moment this could happen. We're not a low-income community. We are a working class, even middle-class community with many households, having 2 income workers. We are the people who cook your meals in restaurants, provide security in public buildings, and collect your garbage. But many of us are scrambling at month's end to pay our bills, needing that mid-month paycheck just to pay the rent. We can only hope that our premier and his government will have the empathy and courage to do the right thing. Our community, our family, and our children are counting on you. Please, please hear our cries. Take action to help Ocean Breeze residents as well as all Nova Scotian renters. And I've left you with my words today so you can take them home with you and get a glimpse of what's on that paper. Because I would like you to see what your plans are doing. You have to witness this, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I recognize MLA Reagan.
Passionate words here. I think when I asked the question of the previous presenter, I probably wasn't clear enough in what I was asking, but to remove people from premises because they're 3 days late does not give people the opportunity to have another pay period to make that up. And I was quite surprised to see it in the legislation. Could you speak to that? I mean, we're not talking, these days a lot of people just simply don't have that pad, a savings account with money sitting in it. And so for somebody who has to suddenly repair a car or some kind of medication that's not covered, this clause, I think, is going to actually produce a lot of hardship and homelessness.
I recognize Celine.
Thank you. It absolutely already has. I've informed a lot of my neighbors about this, and I mean, they don't know where to go. And anywhere where might be affordable, first of all, is not downtown Dartmouth, is not Dartmouth North. They want us to move far away. They want people who perhaps can afford the higher end condos to move into there. So we do live paycheck to paycheck, as many of us do, whether you're low income or middle income, and that's what's changed, in my opinion, is now it's not just a low income person's problem. This is affecting middle class and it's affecting upper middle class. So we need to, I think Nova Scotia set precedent and show that we can't let this happen to renters anymore.
Thank you very much. I recognize MLA Wong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Celine, thank you for the presentation. And I think we're all human. I think we all want to ensure that people have a safe place to live, one that they can afford as well. I also look at development, and I don't look at all developers as being necessarily cruel and greedy. But when I do look at aging buildings and infrastructure, and you think about people that they do need to make money in order to have developments and apartment buildings and whatnot. But I do see people, when they do demolish a building, they do lose their neighborhood, their friends, because they do have to move. But I also question the 3-day period, because my MLA office, we deal with people that have difficulty making rent. We deal with it every month. But it's not from the very date that the rent was due. Very often, people go through a period of time, so they know in advance. So they may know a month before or 2 weeks before. So for those people that are kind of ongoing, that we know they're going to have issues, we start trying to find resources for them earlier on, which does help with that 3-day period, because you don't have to wait till the first of the month in order to do that. So I'm just kind of wondering what your thought process is, or of how many people that you may know of that, it may be ongoing for several months, that you could help people earlier rather than waiting for that first of the month deadline.
So I recognize Celine.
You. My apologies. I encourage that, of course. But most of us, as I stated, middle income, your services aren't helping us. And we're still behind on our rent. So we manage, and the landlords that do accommodate and allow you to pay on the second paycheck, this has been a way that we've been able to do this for a long time, to just come out with a bill and no grace period either. So we can't catch up on our rent. Right? We can't make provisions. When the bill passes, we're going to have to apply it. And a lot of my neighbors are concerned they're going to get evicted. Dartmouth North has a 0.1% vacancy rate. Where are we going? What they are building is much more expensive, sometimes double or triple what we're paying now. We know we're not going to be living in Dartmouth North very long.
Thank you. We have 1 minute left. I recognize MLA Hanson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I wanted to point out, because a few things stuck out to me in your presentation. You said it changed dramatically in 2022. And I think, here was an opportunity where the government could have stepped in and they could have purchased the land before it went to a point of sale to developers, which is something that we had talked about in legislature. Then the other point I also want to point out, because I know that we're short on time, but, you mentioned those of us fortunate enough to be a little further down the queue for eviction and demolition still feel the deep stress and despair. Now, every single person that has lived there, I've spoke to numerous tenants, feel extreme stress enough that they just can't deal with it and they leave, right? And I'm grateful